All right, hello. Welcome to the Omega Republic podcast. This is In the Spotlight for the second time in a row. I am your host, Diamond Heart. I am not here on my own. We also have the magnificent DJ Arc. I use those in quotations, as well as a Mr. Kurt Kruger, as someone who's given us a bit of a hint as to who he is, but I think he should give us a little bit of an insight into who he is himself, and that person is should I say Commander Cobalt?
Cobalt, Commander Cobalt,
Yeah.
Kobe Butt.
Well, why don't you give us a little bit of an insight?
First off, if you want to know what the heck I am a 13-foot dragon in the fandom known as Cobalt.
Dragon
I
for
have,
life.
oh yeah, babes. I've been a vocalist for a very long time. I've been a musician for years and years and years. I play a bunch of different instruments, not excluding the guitar, bass, piano, most stringed instruments, and a couple more that I can't really name off the top of my head. I am currently in a band with a couple of other furs named Zephyr, and it's a band in Toronto. We do a couple of venues every so often. We're doing one for one of the radio stations, 94.9 in Oshawa, for those of you who live down in the GTA. And we are going to be doing a couple more venues at the local furry convention known as Fernal Equinox, where we will be on stage with Pepper Coyote. I don't know if you guys know him. He's pretty big. And Mr. Fox and more. And we're also doing a show with them at the Lee's Palace. Yes, we're going to be doing something with them at Lee's Palace on the 22nd of March. 22nd. Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, these guys caught me at a really, really good time because we just approved it for publication that we're going to be doing this, or else I couldn't have said anything about that. So hi, I actually do a podcast myself, but not for this kind of stuff. I do it for a sportscast. It's kind of an indie thing. We got we're hitting about 4,500 subscribers now on iTunes, so it's not doing too bad.
Sports.
Yeah, I thought so too. But you know what? In Canada, hockey is a religion. Yeah.
Okay, well, I can slightly understand hockey because of the whole
How
the
deliciously
blood sport
stereotypical.
half time.
And I'm in Toronto, so I'm told I'm a Maple Leafs fan. Nobody is ever really a Maple Leafs fan because they're so bad. But we do have quite a bit of a scene here up in Toronto. And my dad's boss, his son, came to me saying, "Hey, you're an engineer." Oh, I'm an audio engineer too, by the way. I do a lot of things. I always forget it because my mind is elsewhere at all times. But regardless, gotta love that ADHD. We've been going for about a year and a half now. We got about 4,500 subscribers, as I've said. Yeah, we're doing pretty well. It turns out that there's a half decent indie sports scene, or sportscast scene rather, in Toronto, and it's starting to branch out a little bit, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully it does well.
Well, that sounds great. I mean, it definitely sounds like you have a few things going for you.
Oh yeah, I have no time to myself ever.
Yeah, I could imagine. Busy as hell.
Oh yeah. I got those two there, and then I got a third job. I call that one my benefits job, and that pops me up to about, on a good week, it's about 60 hours, and on a bad week, it's about 80. So as you can imagine, I'm a busy man.
Fine.
I'm a busy dog.
Goodness gracious me, that's 80 hours, really?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, the living standard in Toronto is quite high. I think the average rent price is like $2,000 for one apartment. Yeah, the housing market's exploding. So I got to work a lot. But hey, it keeps me busy. Wouldn't be doing much else otherwise.
So I'm actually curious, when exactly did you first get into playing music with all of these things going on in your life anyways?
Okay, well, if we're going to talk about when I started at 9 years old. I went to choir in my school, which was a French school. That's why I know French. I was speaking French before we started, for anyone who didn't know. Yeah, so I started way back when there. I played piano when I was like 5 years old. So I started doing music like really early. And then I stopped for a while because of work and school. All things considered, I don't really know how I started up again. I think it was about 2 years ago. I have a couple friends online. They like to listen to me sing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll start this up again. And then I think about a year ago, my friend Clumsy, who is in the fandom, Clumsy Lion, he came to me saying, hey, I have a band and our bassist left. Do you want to be in the band? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to be in the band. I need some sort of socialization because, 80 hours of work a week, you're kind of a loner.
Oh,
so yeah, When I mean you have no time for yourself, you have no time for yourself and everybody else.
Oh no, God
So
no. God no. Working 80 hours a week.
yeah, no, it'd be freaking horrible. But yeah, so we've been kind of going strong since then. It's been a bit of a fun ride actually, because as I said, we're doing some stuff at Fernal Equinox, which is again the furry convention we have here in Toronto. We just moved down to the Lakeshore. No, I don't think it's the Sheraton. It's the same one that Anthrocon's in. It's the same hotel chain. The name escapes me. I'm terrible with names. Yeah, we're doing stuff with Pepper Coyote there. Pepper, for those who don't know, is pretty big in the fandom. He does a lot of music. He does a lot of collaborations with different furs, different people. He's very, very talented. I absolutely love his voice. And of course, Foxamore is Foxamore. And both of them are absolutely fantastic musicians. So this is kind of giving me a good break. So really, it's been about a year now. That's where we've been in about the year.
The furry musicians in particular, I know you guys are all scattered and about, and there's not really much of a common core for everybody to get all together, versus we've had this discussion all kinds before prior to, versus, say, the Brony community, which is, of course...
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's something based on it's based on like one subject, a whole thing based around that show, and there are so many things that are attributed to the show, and the whole music piece, and a very good music piece. It's very very well praised.
Yeah, like it's kind of interesting to see, because as you said, the Brony fandom, they have something to focus their art on, their music on, stuff like that, because it's part of one singular thing, you know what I mean? But I kind of like the furry fandom because it kind of lets you separate from that a little bit, because there's no one thing that you focus on. Of course, you have your personas, you have your fandoms, you have things that you got you into the fandom. Like for me, it was Spyro, like way years ago. You know, when you want to go out there and create music, our band has our own music. It's not furry stuff. It's like completely exclusive to it. It just happens that we are all furries, except for my drummer. We're trying to convert him. He's but we're going to be doing our music. You know what I mean? It's very nice to be mutually exclusive in that way.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, I'll go ahead and give you props if you're able to go ahead and convert your drummer, simply because one of our artists actually converted one of her boyfriends. So points for us.
It's spreading.
Nicely done.
Yes.
Great story. So my vocalist, or Lionel, Clumsy, he was like, okay, so I'm gonna tell him tonight. We were doing a session. We were rehearsing for this gig that we have on my birthday, oddly February 17th. So we were doing a rehearsal, and after rehearsal, we went outside. It was raining. We all went into my car, and we sat him down. It's like, okay, so we're going to do this gig at a convention on March, I think it's 18th, 19th, somewhere around there. And they're like, oh, okay, so I'm down for it. And then he slowly kind of introduced that it's a furry convention. And then at the top of his lungs, after he heard it's a furry convention, he's like, yes, let's fuck some fucking furries. The guy's really cool. I freaking love him. He's a great guy. Great drummer too. Absolutely fantastic. So we're all kind of sitting there thinking, persona would he take? We all think he's either going to be a monkey or Lionel's going to try to, or Clumsy. I call him Lionel. Oddly enough, he's a lion and his real name is Lionel. It's absolutely like mind-boggling. Clumsy, he was saying he's going to convert him into a big cat. I'm like, you better not. I don't want another cat in this band. We already got 2 dragons. Anyway.
He's trying to convert everybody into dragons. Meanwhile, I'm trying to convert everyone on here into wolves.
No wolves. They're too much. They're like so unoriginal.
Okay.
That's the
Bite my bubbly butt.
You and your fake species.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Circles, really.
Oh, you're a wedge of cheese. Excellent.
Yes, I've crafted American slices.
Nice.
There's this fantastic little comic. It's like a cheese wheel, but like a triangle cut out. It's like how to catch a circle. You just leave it out there. The circle puts its head in. It's like, I am not a smart circle. Please help.
Well, that's their thing, isn't it? They're not too bright.
No, but they are very tall and very vicious, especially the northern ones, I've heard.
Ooh, everything has to be northern. The fluffier and icier it is, the better.
Because everybody loves the cold.
Yes.
Trust me, I'm not standard, and I can fill you in after the show.
One of the more interesting things, really, that we also have discussed on the show as well is defining furry musicians. Because we've went ahead and gone through into this because is it the music itself that that defines them, or is it because they're a part of the fandom? Cobalt?
I think it's the furry that gets you there, but it's the music that defines you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because just the imagery itself of the whole togetherness of, we're furries and we're making music, and then it's the people that make the music, because there are so many good musicians in this fandom that
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
something that defines it in and of itself is the music.
You have everyone that has their persona. They have their name. They have their alias that they want to be called. But at the end of the day, their music is their music. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows a musician by their name, but they also know them by their trade. Like everyone has that unique signature thing that they have. So I think a lot of it is your name is what gets you out there, but it's your music that kind of defines who you are in the fandom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in a sense.
It is always what you do that defines who you are. I mean, because you can put yourself out there as much as you can, just telling people who you are. But if you don't have a portfolio to really showcase your talents and what you're really capable of in this fandom, or just people in general, it doesn't really give people an idea of who you are and what you're good at. So as long as you have some kind of thing to show people, I like doing this, I'm relatively good at doing this, and I want to keep doing this for the foreseeable future. Maybe have it as an employment thing for however long, but
yeah, absolutely.
Something defines who you are for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that furries in general just are very artistic to begin with. I mean, we come up with these crazy looking things that we call our characters. We go out there and like flaunt it. Some people decide that they want to go a step further and buy a sofa that just happens to fit their body and worth thousands of dollars. But I can't knock that too hard because I'm getting one myself. But still, it's definitely something that your creativity, especially in the furry fandom, more than I would say most others, because a lot of them definitely have a guideline that you want to go to. But the fandom is basically very much what you make of it. It's very, very much who you are on your own terms. I think a lot of it is if you want to branch off into a more musical thing, like I personally think anybody can sing. I think anybody with the right kind of drive and motivation and training, especially.
Saying too,
yeah, everybody can sing.
It's one thing to learn how to play guitar or something like that, but singing kind of a natural human skill, because anyone can sing. Anyone can, as a human, you have complete and utter control of your voice. That's
Absolutely.
a definite thing. But if you get the proper voice exercise, the proper training, the proper techniques and such, you can really hone your voice to be able to throw it and put it to such a good use that you'll be able to do it professionally and in a way that lets you entertain people in that manner, whether it's in the fandom or whether it's in any other manner. Because there are so many people that are all very friendly and very upbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one thing I would like to say. It's just a personal thing of mine.
Absolutely.
If you are a vocalist, you're a vocalist. You're not aspiring. You are one. You know what I mean? So if you're saying you want to be a vocalist, then damn, be a vocalist. Seriously, that's what you are. And it's definitely, if you're aspiring, then that means you're thinking about it. But if you're going for it, you are definitely a vocalist. Even if like a musician, if you're like an aspiring artist, no, you're an artist. If you're drawing, if you're practicing, you're an artist. This is what it is. Same thing with dance, same thing with any of the arts, you know what I mean? It's definitely something that if you're practicing it, then you are it. You're just improving. So this is a little bit of a story. Last year, the Fernal Equinox, they had a masquerade, and it's almost like a little bit of a competition.
Yeah.
And I won it. I ended up winning it. How? I don't know, because it was like one of my worst performances, but that's besides the point. So this year I was like, you know what? I won this competition. I don't want to go back into it. It kind of makes me seem a little douchey. I'm going to take a shot at doing the judging panel. I'm going to be hopefully on one of the guys that are doing the judging of the actual masquerade. And I think that's probably something that I want to get into more often than not, because I feel like I've been doing this for, like I've said, about 14 years. I have a lot of experience. I've had a lot of schooling. I've had a lot of teaching. I went to school for it. I got a double major. Yeah, so I've got 3 high school diplomas over it, 2 diploma. I got 2 college diplomas.
That sounds so nice.
Yeah, well, it wasn't cheap. But
no.
Oh God. But it was worth it. At the end of the day, it's worth it. And I want to have that experience to kind of give it to other people. Because my mantra is you can be as technically sound as you want in vocals. If you have nothing to say, it kind of falls flat. It's definitely, if you have the technique, that's fantastic. That's absolutely great. A lot of people don't have the technique, but it's also what you do with the technique that really helps out. I like to think that I definitely put a lot of work into how I deliver things as much as the way I deliver it. And there's a little bit of a difference into it. You can sing lyrics, but if you don't know what they mean, then you're not really giving it your 100. And I kind of want to bring that out in anyone I can, because I definitely feel like it's my obligation for anyone who wants to be at a better vocalist level to actually get the training and the ideas and all that stuff to be a better vocalist. And I feel like if I can give that out, then that would be definitely something that I want to look into.
Couldn't be any more right, because singing is something you don't just put thought into. It's something that you put emotion into, because you can't just sing and recite something and just go from there. Because I mean, I'm sure there are some people who do, but if you
Yeah.
don't put some real oomph, some real emotion into it, it can really make it so much more of a powerful medium. The way
Yeah.
because it's obviously a way to express your emotions in any way, in the same way that writing or
Yes.
making music or drawing can be.
Yes,
It's just
absolutely.
one of these. It's one of those fandom, quote unquote, fandom skills that people use to express themselves in the same way
Yeah.
anyone would, whether they're in a fandom or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also another thing where I have a bit of a gripe with today's music, and it's for exactly that reason that you were saying. Like, you have this technical ability, and some of these vocalists have amazing technical ability, and you hear them freaking go from one note to the other and do 50 notes in between, and that's amazing. It's all technical. It's all like, what I can do, look what I can do, and the lyrics kind of get lost. Definitely within the fandom as well. You have a much more niche group. You have a much, like, it's a lot closer. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you just all happen to be friends. Yeah, exactly. So it's easier to kind of spread that information, whereas in your circles of friends, some of them might not even care. Like, you have a certain connection with people within the fandom because you're sharing a medium. You know what I mean? You're sharing this thing that everybody likes, and that gives you more to connect on, like a more of a level playing field than you do outside of it.
Absolutely.
So, from the sounds of it, you've been doing, what was it, 14 years, you said?
14 years approximately, yeah.
I'm actually curious now. You've did a lot of collaborations with individuals.
There's a couple, yeah.
Yeah, Pepper Coyote.
Yeah, those are up and coming, but there's a few of them when I was a little younger. And these are things that I don't know how many people are going to know. One of the biggest crowning achievements for me was I used to be in choir in high school. This was 4 or 5 years ago that I came out of it. It was in grade 9 or freshman year, for those who don't use the numbering system. And it was a choir that is in Canada. It's called the Elmer Eisler Choir. And I got to sing with them. And they're one of the top choirs in the world. They're absolutely fantastic. Huge, 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 huge sound from such actually a really small choir. Like, I don't think there's more than 50 or 60 people. And for the sound that they make, it's incredible. It was definitely an experience for me. It definitely taught me a lot about my range, my voice, who I am as a vocalist, who I am as a singer, where should I be, and how should I articulate. So now when I'm going into these things, like now I'm doing a band, I'm going to be working with Pepper at Fernal, and then Pepper and Foxamore at their first concert. They're doing a string of concerts in Canada together, but they're doing the first concert in Toronto at Lee's Palace, and we're going to be opening up for them. You could definitely learn a lot from that. And yeah, so I've done a few collaborations, but Clumsy is one of the guys that I did a collaboration with. He's really, really cool. I got a friend of mine. He's a really good friend of mine. His name is Garu. Amazing vocalist, very shy guy though. He's very self-conscious about his voice, which he shouldn't be. It's absolutely fantastic. I want to do a little bit of collaborating with him, and I'm also open to collaborations outside the fandom as well as inside. Like, I absolutely love to get musically intertwined with everyone. It's definitely a way to express myself, like a way to open myself up. I am actually a very quiet person too, usually. I'm very introverted, but when I'm on stage and when I'm singing, I definitely turn into a different person. The more I can do that with people around me, the more I can connect like that, the better.
Yeah, it's definitely something you got to have passion for, because you can easily burn yourself out and it'll get tiring and whatnot if you do not have that passion.
It's something you need to put your soul behind more than anything.
Oh, yeah. So what would actually be your greatest and worst achievements you've made?
Greatest achievements? Oh.
Yes.
Greatest and worst. Oh, that's a good question. Greatest achievement beside getting my diplomas, because that was a lot of work. outside of the fandom, that would be one of my biggest ones. Within the fandom, I would have to say it's not really a big achievement, but it is an achievement. Just because what happened with Pepper, it's not happening yet. I want to kind of scope that out. So it will happen, but I kind of want to scope it out, see how it feels and see how it goes. Cause things happen.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to go bad, but so far, I think my best achievement would have to be getting up on the Anthrocon stage and playing. That was definitely something that I wanted to do, but I am a very, very quiet person, and believe it or not, I have like the worst stage fright you'll ever see in your life. I'm definitely better at managing it now. Even if it's not a huge audience, it is an audience, and definitely getting up there was my biggest achievement. My worst achievement, though, there's a couple of them. I used to be in a band years and years and years ago, and it definitely would have went somewhere, but I just wasn't motivated. Not for any fault of the musicians. They were absolutely fantastic. It's just, you're young and dumb. You know what I mean? I'm an idiot when I was younger. And I definitely regret not continuing with that because the musicians that I was with were very, very talented. And you miss that opportunity and you never know what could happen. You know what I mean? You live the rest of your life wondering, oh, what would have happened if I did this? Instead of going for it and saying, well, it didn't work out, but at least I knew. You know what I mean? So I think that's definitely one of my lower points in my career. I still keep in touch with them, but they've kind of moved on for the best too, because they're great musicians. They're great people, and they've been doing great things. I missed out on that, and there's definitely a life lesson in there. You miss every shot you don't take. Opportunities aren't lost. They're just taken by others. Definitely that would be one of my lower achievements.
Yeah, most definitely. It's one of those things that I figure on not doing. Whenever there's an opportunity, you take it. So that way in the future, it will not be one of those what if moments.
Exactly.
Something that I've actually wanted to know is what type of music genre do you prefer to make, to conduct? And is there anything that you're particularly fond of?
Well, rock will always be at the center of my heart. I grew up with parents who grew up in the 70s, and I listened to a lot of that stuff. So, the Sabbaths, the Led Zeppelin, the Who, and all the newer stuff too.
Yes.
Oh, I love the Who.
Oh, the Who.
It was definitely a good time for music, and it definitely transited over to me from my parents. So I've always had a special place in my heart for rock and hard rock and punk and stuff like that. It's always, those have always to me been the thing that say the most. They have the best message, and they just rock out. I love the sound. But when I was in school, I got classically trained, so I did classical music, dabbled a little bit into opera. And choral music has always been a big thing for me. I absolutely love the sound of a big choir. I love the sound of multiple voices and harmony. So it's definitely between those two. But I do dabble in a lot of things. Like I personally think that as a musician and as an artist yourself, you should really owe it to yourself to look at all genres instead of saying, oh, I don't like that. Well, I don't like that. And I don't like that. Well, yeah, you may not like it, but it doesn't mean you can't respect the person who made it, and B, that there is an audience for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, even though there's something that you might not like, you have to appreciate the people, the kind of work that goes into making music. Because, I mean, however way you look at it, making music isn't easy.
Yes, absolutely. A good example for me is I cannot stand Kanye West. I can't stand him as a person. I can't stand him as an individual. I think he's the cockiest individual on the face of the earth. That being said, even though I'm not crazy about his music, I have to respect the guy. Basically by himself started the indie rap scene. He definitely did a lot to kind of give that kind of sound to younger generations. He makes all of his own beats. He makes all of his own lyrics. He does all of his own music. You know what I mean? So whilst I don't like him as a person and I'm not crazy about his music, it's definitely something that I have to respect because obviously he's made it. He's gotten big and a lot of people love his music. You know what I mean?
Any way you look at it, he's a successful musician at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Well, one thing I'll say, even though that Commander Kobe is a dragon and all, he has actually earned a little bit of respect just by saying orchestral as well as classic rock.
It's like, it's not only can it, like, it's just so powerful.
Yeah.
Good orchestra is so powerful. Like a good orchestra, a good Gregorian choir. It's power. It's bombastic. It's just amazing.
If I
love-
can share one of my,
I
sorry,
love
go ahead.
orchestral. It's my favorite thing. It has to be my favorite genre of music. Orchestral or country. Country
Oh
western.
yeah, I don't mind country at all either. I do. There is a distinct difference between Canadian country and American country, and I definitely like Canadian country
Johnny
more.
Cash, the good stuff.
Johnny Cash is a good guy, but a lot of the Canadian stuff, like the Tragically Hip, is considered country music. Anyone who doesn't know the Tragically Hip, I don't blame you. They're very. I'm surprised they didn't really get into the States because they're really, really popular in Canada, like obscenely popular. People like Gordon Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot's an amazing country singer, Canadian country singer. Places like guys like City and Color. Interesting fact: City and Color is named that because the guy's name is Dallas Green. So Dallas City, Green Color, City and Color. Great Canadian artist too. But orchestral music, as you were saying, absolutely love it. I love all the thought that goes into it, especially more in the Baroque era. For me, that's almost like, for me, the pinnacle of orchestral music, even though it was kind of repetitive in what it was about, unless you're talking about like Mozart or Beethoven.
Yeah.
But like, even then, all the greats that were in that time, they absolutely captured almost like the heavenly sound, like what you would expect an angelic choir, an angelic orchestral score, something like that to be, almost like unworldly good. And it's something that definitely I would love to mimic at some point in my life. I do dabble in a lot of sampling. I do dabble in a lot of using samples for music and orchestral scores and stuff like that, just for my own personal time. It's definitely a genre that I absolutely love to listen to, just because it's so complex and yet so elegant and simple at the same time. There's definitely a lot of depth in it.
I heard that.
My.
I heard that.
Yeah, just a bit.
You've
Okay, well,
been
question.
anxious to make a piece for us
Oh,
because you wanted to do something at the end.
yeah, if you want me to, I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
if we have time, absolutely. If we still have time, you can sing a little ditty. for
Sounds
us.
good. But I believe Mr. DJ Ark had a question.
Yes, absolutely.
I think he just pretty much answered it. Acoustic or electrical? I'm going to say acoustic.
Oh, yeah. I love electric guitars, don't get me wrong. I love the big sound. But for me, acoustic guitar has always had kind of a personal thing for me. The guitar I have in my hand right now, it's my grandfather's. When he passed away, he gave it to me. And I've had this thing for years. It's definitely, there's that. And then, you learn on an acoustic guitar because you can't always wail on your electric at 1:30 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
People need to sleep.
it's so serene.
Sleep? What's
There's a
that?
serenity that comes with having an acoustic guitar, and I should know because I have a good old Spanish Yamaha sitting right next to me.
I got a Yamaha Dreadnought body. Dreadnought
big ones.
basically means, and by Dreadnought, I mean this motherfucker is like the Yamato. It's huge. And then I have a classical guitar that I have in the corner here. It's actually Canadian made. Beautiful sound, light, nice deep sound, and it kind of tapers off to the higher end, which I kind of like. And then in my case, I just bought a Martin 12 string.
Ooh.
Whew, that's
D&D.
nice, deep, wide sound. I absolutely love it. But yeah, acoustic guitars for me definitely win out over the two, just because you can kind of do a little bit more with them.
Such a
in my
relaxed,
opinion.
such a relaxed instrument, isn't it? Too.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
depending on if you're doing like Spanish flamenco, you can kind of strum away with you'll break your fingers by the end of the night. But if you're just doing some relaxed finger work, it can really put you to sleep.
Oh yeah, and the acoustic guitar is hundreds of years old, hundreds and hundreds of years
Oh yeah,
old. It traces itself back way into mid-European times, in the Spanish area, northern Africa, a little bit out east as well.
Africa,
It kind of, as the years got later and the colonization started to happen, it kind of moved in to there. I don't remember if it's the classical guitar or something else. It might have been something else, but there are definitely some instruments in Africa that are inspired by it. But it definitely started in Spain. That's where they really started getting it. It's a wonderful instrument to play. I have a very personal affection for it. Not that far though. I don't have those crazy fetishes.
I mean, I've always loved guitars. Guitars always had a special place in my heart, especially living in Spain for the past going on 17 years now. Because I live in Gibraltar, which is like the overseas territory, and living here for so long, you get to listen to so much flamenco, so much fandango. so much of the good stuff, and you just really get a feel for the spirit that there is here. And they have a really, really powerful musical spirit here in Spain.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely in a lot of the Latin countries in general, they have a very, very musical background to it. Like I grew up with Italian parents, Italian grandparents. I'm Italian on both sides of my family, and a lot of the music there is definitely very. It's almost kind of country style. Like you can draw parallels from that kind of music to like Western country music, but it has its own flavor, and it's in Italian, which is a given. But it's a very cool thing to listen to, just kind of the different styles that are in the Latin and the Mediterranean countries.
Those are most of the countries that have, the guitar as a bass or some stringed instrument, don't they?
Yeah.
Greece to an extent. They kind of
actually,
like guitars.
Yeah, you know what? Greek love their guitars. I actually have a friend of mine. Oh, well, my dad's friend. He does a lot of blues music with his guitar. He's Greek. Great guy, absolutely fantastic musician. Like he's gone everywhere in North America to play. Really, really smart dude. Very, very funny. It's stringed instruments really made their way around the Mediterranean. They made their way around the Latin area. And then as you start getting to more the Balkan styles or more Germanic, you start getting like the violins, the violas, the cellos, and double bass. I played double bass in high school, actually. I feel like stringed instruments in general are very different in how they work their ways, not just physically, but just spiritually. You almost have to have a different style of play for each instrument.
You do.
You have to have a different kind of emotion that goes through it.
You do. There are two different spirits between a wind instrument and a string instrument, especially between, because a guitar is such a common instrument, but it's been around for so long that it's got so much spirit inside of it. The culture surrounding it, it's got such a following around almost, you said, every Mediterranean country, and then when you get to the things like violins and cellos and violas, there it's almost a completely different style of music. Well, it is, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I love all stringed instruments. A lot of string instruments were made specifically to mimic the human voice, and nothing got closer to that than the cello. And I absolutely love the sound of a cello. I love the sound of the violin and the viola and the double bass. But I also love the kind of the more stringy metallic sound of the guitar. Like it has a different voice to it. You can definitely manipulate it to do a lot of things that you want. And you have things where it's like, for example, the song that comes to my mind right now is Time of Your Life by Green Day. It has both in there. You almost hear like two different voices singing with each other on top of Billy Joe, because they have a violin and a guitar in there. It sounds fantastic, you know what I mean? So it's nice that you have that mix, especially in such a culturally rich area like the Mediterranean and Balkan and Germanic Europe.
All I have to go ahead and say with that, the guitar, the strings, and all that are all good, but I'm sorry, my heart is still for the piano.
Oh, piano's fantastic,
well,
but that is still technically a stringed instrument.
It is. I mean, it is. You don't pluck the strings, but they're still hitting strings.
Actually, technically, I believe it's a percussion instrument because it's kind of hammering, it's hitting it.
Yeah.
It's kind of its own thing, but I do love the piano. I think the piano is an absolutely beautiful instrument.
The piano is a whole different kind of thing. It's so eloquent. You associate the piano with these very refined, very eloquent, not really high class, refined tastes that you have with opera or with old 40s, 50s jazz and swing and stuff like that. There are different parallels with that as well. Definitely one of the bigger instruments that have been throughout the years. I'm not sure how old of an instrument it is, but it's up there.
It came about in the 1600s, I believe. That's when it really started taking off. Before that, it was a harpsichord. And it was kind of based off that. Yeah, the difference with the harpsichord than it is with the piano is that the harpsichord, you only have one tone. It's just that pluck. You can't get in. There's no dynamic range. Whereas the piano, how hard you hit the hammer is how hard the piano plays. Ark, if you really like pianos, you're going to love this. I went to a friend's house years and years ago. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I guess that's not years and years ago, but I am only 21, so it is to me.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, I'm only 21. A lot of people think I'm like in my 30s. I'm like, why
you sound like it, because I turned 20 last Sunday.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you, but really?
Yeah, I'm only 21.
So you sound like you have a lot more experience than you do.
I've had a very packed life. A lot of things have happened in a short amount of time, which I like. I like getting that kind of quick learning. I'm a very quick learner. I like
I'm
learning
almost
fast.
jealous.
I like learning quickly. It's nothing big. Yeah, going back to it, I went to a friend's house, and I think it was his great grandfather when he came to Canada. They were pretty well off. Like, these guys had a lot of money. He was English, I believe. They had a lot of money, and his great grandfather decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to move to Toronto. So he did, and he brought his piano with him, and it was a 1928 Steinway. That is hundreds of thousands of dollars today.
That is a lot
That
of money.
piano is extremely expensive, but you know what? It's a beautiful instrument. I didn't touch it. I could not play it. I was like, do you want to play? My friend's like, do you want to play it? I was like, no, I don't want to touch this.
Don't touch that much money. You can't
like,
touch that
I
much
feel
money.
like I'm gonna catch fire if I touch it. Like, it's too blessed. It's too sacred. I am not good enough for that. But yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful instrument. His dad came in and played it, and he's been playing piano for, it's going to be about 35 years now, I think. They don't make them like they used to, man.
No.
Especially the Steinways, because there's a very stark difference between American piano and European piano. European piano is a lot darker, and it has a lot more of a somber tone to it, whereas American piano is a lot brighter. But I like that darker tone. I like that darker sound because you can do a lot more dynamically with it. That's my little tangent about pianos.
Lots of pianos, lots of guitars, lots of violins. But going on from a teensy bit of a tangent, we've talked about what you do, but something that I would like to know, just to get to know you a little bit, is there anything, everyone has a persona, obviously, everyone has a persona. Most people also, they attribute it to some aspect of their life, to either something that's happened or aspect of their personality, or maybe which they base on their design or their characteristics or their behavior. Is there anything, any outstanding bits of detail that you have on your persona that you put some sort of meaning to in any way?
You know what? That's actually a really good question. Cobalt is a very specifically close character to me because he is almost like, he is basically the embodiment of the decisions that I made. What would be the opposite? What if I was this person? So it's definitely something that I've really put a lot of thought into, probably more than I ever really should have, because I've gone so far down this rabbit hole. He has his own language. That's how in detailed I've gone into it. Perhaps it's a little too far for me, but before I became more known as a musician, I was a writer, and I love storytelling. I love world building. I love that kind of stuff. That's what really brings me in. And I kind of transferred over to my music a little bit, but that's a totally different topic. But yeah, it's definitely, he's definitely almost like an antithesis to me. What would happen if someone like me were to go through the situations? They would choose completely the opposite of what I would, and we'll see what happens. And it's definitely given me a lot of perspective into world building, and B, a lot of perspective onto myself, because it's definitely something that you look into and think like, well, I would have done this, but if you did this is what would happen. You kind of learn a lot about yourself in that way, and I kind of like it.
I think that's one of the more things that we really do when we create these personas. We take on the emphasis of what we would be like if we were a lot more outgoing, if we weren't as introvert, if it's just a world building type thing, really.
Yes.
It's a mode of expression for people.
And that's actually one of the more beauties of it, really. Do you have actually any type of rituals or anything that you do before doing a project?
Like any sort of preparation? It depends on what it is. A lot of the times, if I'm doing something musically, I'll have it in my head, and then I'll kind of keep it in my head. I'll sing it to myself a billion times, and then I'll come home and I'll write it, see how I can expand on it, and then go from there. But if it has something to do with like, I don't know, like you have a song that you want to sing, but you want to kind of put it in your own way, I definitely go over it a little bit, read the lyrics, kind of figure out how I want to go about it, and then just go for it. I did things when I was a little bit younger, and I think Jerry showed you a few of these. It was basically a one-take talk, I like to call them, where I just basically pressed record, played the guitar, did singing, didn't stop for anything. If I made a mistake, I kept going and then put it up. I listened to it over and over and over and over and over again. the way that helped me was I learned about my mistakes. I learned about which way I wanted to do things. It definitely taught me how to do more of a live setting, because obviously when you're live, you don't have a chance to, oh shit, I stopped, let me start again. I feel like that's really helped me definitely to improve myself. So when I go into future projects, that's definitely something I do right away. So I learn immediately what I'm doing wrong and how to fix it. Maybe there's something I didn't like and I want to change it up. And the best way to do it is to hear it back. Let's say if I'm going backstage and I'm going on to perform, that's something that a lot of people don't know. Like I said, I'm extremely shy. You know, I have a lot of people saying, like, you don't look shy at all. You've never really shown that you had stage fright. Believe me, I do. Oh my God. I'm a very introverted person. I've had a lot of trouble talking to people. I'm a little awkward in certain situations.
Anxiety is fun.
Oh, anxiety is the best. And it used to be so bad for me that I used to throw up after I talked to people. It used to be that bad. But for me on stage, the way that I go about it, I'm singing for me, and there just happens to be a bunch of people listening. That's how I get over it. So I'm sitting there, I'm talking to everybody, you know, I'm getting engaged and stuff like that. That stuff I don't really have a big issue with, but I'm very critical about my music. I'm very critical about my sound, my tone, and everything. So when I start singing, it's almost like the world in front of me just kind of disappears, and it's just me. And I'm in my room, and I'm playing, and I'm doing it just for me, and that's it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the hardest critics that we'll ever come across with us artists is our own selves, really.
Yes.
And of course, there's a lot of stuff that really will never see the light of day. Individuals may think that might be great or anything if they ever come across it with what we call garbage, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, definitely those one take things that I was talking about, those definitely helped me too, to kind of be like, okay, I may not be entirely happy with it, but I should put it out there anyway, because if I just keep trying to perfect things and perfect things and perfect things, I'm never going to be satisfied with it. So it's definitely something where you have to learn that you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be that perfect musician. You're always learning more. Yeah. And it's better to make those mistakes, and it's better to just kind of go for it than to sit there and try to keep tweaking until you're satisfied, because you'll never be satisfied. And that's the issue. And to paraphrase Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps, I didn't come out the pussy drawing Mozart.
I didn't come out the pussy drawing fucking
drawing Mozart.
Oh, yes. I love you already, man. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
So, I can see we're probably running down a little bit on time. Do you want me to do something?
Well,
yeah, most definitely.
We have about 10 minutes, so if you would very much like, I'd definitely love to. So if
sure. There it is. Okay. Now, what should I do? What should I do?
That will be your ultimate decision. Are you good on the spot?
Yes, I am.
Then why have you not just?
Yeah, I think I know what song I'm gonna do. My eyes are open wide. By the way, I made it through the day. I watched the world outside. By the way, I'm leaving out today. I just saw Haley's coming shooting. She said, why you always running in place? Even the man in the moon disappeared. Somewhere in the stratosphere. Tell my mother, tell my father, I've done the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. I'm not angry, I'm just saying sometimes goodbye is a second chance. Please don't cry one tear for me. I'm not afraid of what I have to say. This is my one and only voice, so listen close. It's only for today. I just saw Haley's coming shooting. She said, why you always running in place? Even the man in the moon disappeared. Somewhere in the stratosphere. Tell my mother, tell my father, I've done the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. I'm not angry, I'm just saying sometimes goodbye is a second chance. Here's my chance. This is my chance. Woo-hoo. Tell my mother, tell my father, I've done the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. I'm not angry, I'm just saying sometimes goodbye is a second chance. Sometimes goodbye is a second chance. Sometimes goodbye is a second chance.
I don't even know you even sang.
Didn't even. He's a musician.
Well, I do certain things, and most of my stuff is instrumental. Singers are few between what I come across with.
Well, I
Fair
mean,
enough.
you have one at least.
Plus one.
But that song is Second Chance by Shinedown.
Nice.
Love that.
It's definitely been one of those productive times, and most definitely we'll be keeping in contact with you.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
if we'd love for you to stick around if you want, because like we tell all of our guests, this is a voluntary thing. It's on a strictly free time basis. You know, you can come and go whenever you want. If you want to be a part of a show, you can as a co-host and just hang around and talk. You're free to just join us whenever you want, because we definitely love to have you.
Oh, absolutely. If I have the time, I would definitely be interested.
That's
yeah, most
fantastic.
definitely. And of course, we'll go ahead and put in contact with Trey as well, because I know
Yes.
Trey, yes, that. All right, so with that being said, is there actually any type of words of wisdom for you'd like to go ahead and pass on?
As I've always said, of course, opportunities aren't lost, they are taken by others. If you're going to sing, say something. Have an idea of what you want to say, have an idea of what you want to do, and just go for it. A lot of the times, stage fright, a lot of the times is, what if I don't do good? What if I do bad? Well, you're never going to improve if you sit there doing the same thing. The best way to kind of explain it is do what you can, when you can, how you can, and worry about it later, because it's those mistakes that make you better, and it's those bad times that bring the good ones.
Because if you don't know what you're bad at, there's no way you can ever improve.
And then we all become Kanye West.
Oh, jeez.
Just keep on going for the jugular there.
Yeah, you can delete that part.
No, we're keeping that in. Fuck that, we're keeping that in. Right.
Let's go ahead and highlight all certain areas to make it sound like Kanye is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
No,
slice it around.
he's definitely really good, but you know.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that's a begrudging type thing, because yes, talent and everything, but it's just talent with the wrong attitude.
Absolutely.
He thinks he's a god, but it's okay. We all know that the rap god is Eminem, because he sang a song, Rap God.
No snap.
No, I'm joking. Rap's a good genre. They have a freaking
is.
amazing people in there. But still, I digress.
Yes,
I do.
yes.
I am very short on time, so I do have to say goodbye.
Yes. Well, on that note, we are about to finish soon anyway. But one thing I would like to ask: is there any sort of handle that you have, or a platform that you have where people can possibly contact you, or any social media, anything like that, any blog, anything where people might be able to see your work and maybe get into contact with you if they're interested in doing collaboration or anything like that?
Well, my work in general right now, it's kind of under construction. I have a few things that I want to re-record. So the best place to get me is Cobaltin, Cobaltin, on for Affinity. I have a music account that's linked to that. A lot of the stuff is old and I'm looking to renovate it. But the best way to see me now, you can go to my Facebook, which is Cobalt, and then Serting, Sertingue. Sorry, that took me a second there. I'm dyslexic. And also my band page, Zephyr. I can give you guys the link to that one because God knows I'm not going to pronounce it right. Spell it right. It's a very weird spelling, but I do like the name. But yeah, those are the best places to kind of see my work. And of course, send me a message on for Affinity and we'll talk. I can bring you to the Telegram. We'll have a discussion. If you want to do collaboration, I'm all for it. And I'm an engineer, so I can kind of work towards it as well.
10 points. All right, then. Now, I am going to be going in with a few discussions with other things as well. We do have a program that we're going to be doing for next week, which is, of course, what do we call it, Diamond?
Fresh ink.
Yes. That tattoo name.
Ooh, we're all getting tats. I'm down.
We're not, I mean, I want a tat.
But we will be doing Fresh Ink next week. We will be having an individual named Magnus. There we go.
Magnus.
There you go.
Yes,
there it is.
It's like Magnum, but with an S.
Magnum, Ark, myself, and our resident alligator. We're going to be spearheading that show, which we do want to get going by next week. Where it's currently in the works, but we know more or less what we're doing. We can talk about that when the show actually airs. But for now, we're actually all out of time. Cobalt is rather busy, but I would definitely like to say a thank you for taking the time to come out here, even through your busy schedule, because you've given me definitely a lot of insight considering my position. Because I mean, you're basically the perfect person to talk to at the point I am now. So
no problem.
So,
thank you for having me on here. I sincerely
thank you so much.
it.
If there's nothing more to be said, Ark, anything you'd like to finish off with?
Wolves are awesome.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, just like you, bloody hell.
I've been really trying.
No, we're done. This has been In the Spotlight with myself, Cobalt, and DJ Ark and Kirk Kruger. Well, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.